This week on episode 265 of the Weekly Exchange, we talk about Driftland, the Magic Revival, Stellaris, Astra Exodus, Predestination, and I want to give you a heads up and let you know that we do have some audio issues this week. We'll do our best to make sure they don't happen next time. But we got a lot of stuff to talk about, so stay tuned.
Rob and Nate.
Hey, Rob. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Nate. I'm glad to be here. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. For a long holiday weekend, it wasn't too bad, other than the snowstorm we're getting right now.
What? It's November?
Yeah.
No, it's December now. Wow, okay. All right, I guess that's kind of normal-ish.
Nah, I guess. I've been here for a while, more than a few years, and we don't usually get snow this early. I mean, this happened one year. We had like a full-on blizzard, but it kind of missed us. We only got a couple of inches and knocked out the power in most of New England, though. But yeah, we'll see. It's supposed to last for like a day, so we'll see what it looks like when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I thought that we were supposed to get snow too. In fact, it was supposed to start tomorrow, but it's thankfully changed to rain. A freezing rain, but rain nonetheless.
Freezing rain is worse than snow, in my opinion.
I'd agree. And it's also going to start right around the time that I need to drive into work, so yeehaw.
Oh, man. Hope you got an all-wheel drive vehicle.
I don't. So let's talk about games so I can distract myself.
Sure. So this week we had an update for Driftland, the Magic Revival. This is update 1.3.4. And it's called, I'm not sure what it's called, but it starts with Brave Mages. I see. It's an introduction. Got it. So Brave Mages, basically they're kind of, us, the players, are telling us that this update is going to do all kinds of improvements that are based on user feedback and things of the nature. So for example, one of the things they're going to do is going to add gamepad support. So you should be able to play the game with a controller. So that's neat. I have not tried playing 4X games on a gamepad. And other than some games that I got just to have a copy on my PC for the day that I do feel like braving it, I do not have many games that use gamepads. So that's the first thing. Second thing, and this is kind of a big thing, they're making the game DRM free. Now, for most people, they won't notice this because a lot of people consider Steam or, the Epic Store or Ubi Store or Microsoft Store or whatever store, Origins or Battle.net, they consider that to be DRM. And in a sense, it is. In some cases, it really is. But in this case, they are making the game DRM free. So I'm not sure how that'll work on Steam. For example, on GOG, for example, that's the natural state of the game. But I'm not too sure how this will work on Steam. But apparently it's not going to mess with the cloud saves. It's not going to mess with the campaign, multiplayer achievements. So I don't know. I mean, the Steam client has to be running in the background. So yeah, I don't get that part. But anyways, there's going to be a bunch of bug fixes and all that entails. But essentially, the way I see it is the game is continuing to get support. The game is continuing to sell well. And at the time of recording, the game is on a good discount with the Steam holiday sale or the autumn sale or whatever they're calling this sale, Black Friday sale, I don't know. But we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, so while we're on the topic of Driftland, the Magic Revival, I would like to put a call to arms, so to speak, for any of you that have played a bunch of it and would like to review it for the site. We haven't yet done that. It's one of those like holes in our coverage that I really want to fill. And so if anyone out there has played a bunch of it, would like to write a review, as unbiased as possible, an objective review, and that would be fantastic. So if you have that and you want to do that, email me at explorminate@gmail.com and we'll see about getting your article on the site. Yeah, so anyways, let's talk about Stellaris' dev diary this week because it's really exciting for me. It lays out the diplomacy changes, which I don't know how long I've been complaining about diplomacy, but it's been a long time. So
From the beginning, as have I.
I'm really excited about this because it sounds like though they're considering this a minor update, the overhaul is pretty significant. So first of all, you're going to have envoys now, which act as diplomats would in Europa Universalis 4, or even as they did in Imperator Rome. But we or Imperator, I don't know how you pronounce it, but however you pronounce it. Anyways, they're going to act like diplomats did in Europa Universalis 4, where they are assigned to various nations or various factions in this case, and they either work to increase your diplomatic favor with them or decrease them so that you can maybe cause them to launch war with you and stuff like that. So that's the first change, which I'm really excited about because I think that gives you a lot more choice, a lot more player agency when it comes to how people react to you and stuff like that, and I like that a lot. Next is changes to the diplomacy interface, which I'm also a big fan of. So now you can take a quick look at somebody and see what their civics are, what their origin might be, what their relative power to you is, and any ongoing diplomatic agreements, which I like it a lot. And also there's new diplomatic stances that you can see in the screen, and the new diplomatic stances are basically a general way you're going to handle other factions, right? So the way you put yourself out there, right? So it is from Imperator Rome as well, Imperator, however you want to pronounce it. But the diplomatic stance is how you present yourself towards the rest of the world or the rest of the galaxy in this case. So the 5 different stances they have from the beginning are belligerent, which sounds exactly like it does. It probably is exactly how it sounds. Cooperative, isolationist, expansionist, and then supremacist, which, you know, if you're in the mood for maybe at first trying to start some wars with somebody, then you might go belligerent. Or if you're trying to ally with others, you might go cooperative for a while. But it's cool because you can now set that stance and you can change it every 10 years. So you might be an isolationist for a while and then decide that you want to become an expansionist and then a supremacist. Who knows? It's all about what you want to do. So I like these changes. All these changes are fantastic.
Though, on the other hand, there is a missed opportunity there because they totally could have given some personality to these diplomats, you know, and they haven't. Or at least it doesn't look like it.
What they said was that they don't want to have it too micromanagement heavy. So they don't want to like
I get it.
Yeah, and I'm with them on that because the diplomats in Europa Universalis 4 don't have traits. They're just assigned. And I can't imagine having like, you know, actual heroes assigned that way and having to worry about like their stats and their personalities and all that crap. It's cool in theory. I just feel like it would be a lot of micromanagement. So I'm with them right now. I could totally see a mod in favor of doing that. So I'm
going to remind you of this later when you complain that it feels so bland. Well, it's so uninteresting. Diplomacy is horrible.
No, I like Europa Universalis' take on it, and if that's what they're trying to do, basically, I'm good with that. So
okay.
And then finally, they have these things called basically like a relation scale, which now has 5 different ranges: terrible, tense, neutral, positive, and excellent. So these all kind of help you understand where you stand with people. It's just, for the most part, it just fleshes out everything in diplomacy, makes it feel a lot less static, and you know it'll evolve over time, which I'm really appreciating. I really can't wait for this. I'm super excited about it. I'm also really glad that they postponed it so that they can take the time they need to make this fit well and work well with the base game. So, yeah, good stuff coming to Stellaris.
Okay, well, like I said, I will remind you in the future when you complain about diplomacy. Like, you remember that show on that date where you said, do you like it like that? And be like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, okay.
I'm going to deny it all, so it doesn't matter.
Of course. Well,
and I'll go back into this podcast and delete it, so...
Lovely. All right, well, moving on, we've had an update from Astra Exodus, and this is Dev Diary number 10 called DataNet and Events. And that is actually a very appropriate name for this Dev Diary. So let me begin. What is the DataNet? Well, the DataNet is what they refer to, usually in 4X games, you have like either a column or on the side of the screen like a UI or some kind of pop-up that gives you warnings about something is happening, something's not happening. You got a message, you got an update. It's almost like a bulletin board. Well, they're having that as well, and within it you're going to have something that is pretty simple, like, oh, by the way, you are not researching anything, or your building queue is empty, or you're going to have something complex like, well, you need to be engaging in this diplomatic exchange, and until you do, you can't just skip a turn because this is very important to the game. So things of that nature will be in there, like events. And now, speaking of events, we have 3 new types of events. We have exploration events, which are basically your scouts encountering things on the map. Then we have random events, which is stuff that can happen to the galaxy, you know, whatever the game is going to present, like a crisis of some type, or something positive, something negative. And then you're going to have narrative events. And this is something that's only available in skirmish mode. Since the campaign mode has already its stuff built out for the campaign, this will be like, I'm assuming skirmish is sandbox. So these will be randomized events for the sandbox. And, you know, usually when these things are missing from a game, we complain. And when they're present and there's not enough of them, we complain. So I hope that they have a fair balance, because one of the things that I don't like is when I see the same exact stuff every single game, and that's where Stellaris really shines, because they have just so many events, and I hope that Astra Exodus also is able to shine in that regard.
Yeah, and I also want to take a second to apologize to anyone who signed up through our preview post for the Astra Exodus beta, because it sounds like Slitherine and Atomic Kaiser have had some issues generating more keys. So that's been the holdup with the beta now. So those of you that are waiting to get in, you guys are still getting in. It's going to be a few more days. Maybe by the time you actually hear this, it'll be ready to go. But from what I understand, they were just having some issues generating new keys. So stay tuned. I'm sorry that it's taking so long, but it'll be there. I promise. And with that being said, let's talk about Predestination, which is a game that I did not think we would be talking about ever again. Somehow it actually continues to update with 1.4 called the Starforged update, in which they have now created a new story mission, and they've also added portraits to the commanders, and they're actually looking pretty good. But they also made time to improve the AI, which is like music to anyone's ears, especially anyone who's a fan of a 4X game. This is a game I tried a bunch to get into. I really did. I put like 12 hours into it, and I know that's not a long time, but
yeah,
it was 12 hours of me really trying to figure out if I could like this game, and it just fell short for me. There's a lot of micromanagement for this one, and the UI to me is just not working at all. And I mentioned that many, many times when I was maybe back when we first started the weekly exchange, and you know, we were talking about this game leading up way, way, way back, and I always said, man, they need to do something about that UI. It's so dark and black and black and black. And they never did. They never did anything with the UI, so unfortunately it's a game that I had a hard time getting into, but they have continued to update it, which is pretty cool. I don't imagine that the sales have been so fantastic, because there's only like 12 reviews on Steam with it, but you know, it's cool to see that they're continuing to fix what's not working and to add character art. I mean, that's pretty cool. So
yeah, well, with these types of games, it's all about exposure. If you can't get the exposure, nobody knows it, nobody's going to play it, nobody's going to talk about it, and it's going to be harder to sell the game.
And they did some cool things, I think, with the whole, like, you starting on a planet and having to explore your own planet, and, you know, it was a very different way of exploiting your own planet to start off with and all that stuff. And it just unfortunately, it feels way too micromanagement heavy once you start getting a little bit further into the game. So I know Troy tried to get into it too, but I think he didn't end up liking it either.
He got much further than you, and he was giving them all kinds of feedback, and they did some with some, others they didn't. He just kind of gave up. Could be wrong. Could be wrong.
That's too bad. Well, in other news, we have an update to Total War Warhammer 2. They're going to release a new Lords pack called The Shadow and the Blade, which looks pretty badass.
Mm-hmm.
They will now have 2 richly themed and unique legendary lords that lead their own faction. It's called Malice Darkblade, who will lead.
I love Malice.
Who will lead the Hagreif, and then the Dark Elves are for the Dark Elves, and then the Deathmaster Snilch or Snitch.
Snickich. Yeah.
Leads Clan Eshin for the Skaven. So this is a game I picked up, Mr. Nate, and I can't wait to tell you about it in our games that we played.
Okay, well then let's save it for that. But let me give you a little background on Malice. Malice Darkblade. He's a very interesting dark elf. Very interesting. There's quite a few books like lore stuff about him, but there's also actual books that were written about him, and he's an interesting dark elf character with an interesting history, and he's not a typical dark elf. And then there is Snickich, the assassin from Clan Eshin, and he's also a very interesting character. And I saw what they're introducing, and yeah, I'm curious to hear what you have to say, but that can wait until then. Now, in other news, moving away from Steam for a moment, or Valve in this case, and going to GOG, or Good Old Games, apparently, because Slytherin has just been killing it, they got access to the Warlords games, and you have Warlords 1, 2, and 3 with some of the DLC being available right now on Good Old Games and on sale at that. Now, these games are, what to compare to? They're not 4X. There are definitely 4X elements to them, but they're not 4X. They are RPG, but lots of combat. It's kind of, it feels like Sorcerer King took inspiration from the Warlords games, because that's kind of how they play. And they're high fantasy with a game like that, and it's kind of like Heroes of Might and Magic, I would say. But anyways, they're fantastic games. They're available on Good Old Games or GOG. Go check it out. You will not regret it. And if you don't have a GOG account, I don't know if they're available on Steam. I can check, but that's not what today's news is about. And with that, I have a question for you, Rob. What is Gloomhaven?
I'm glad you asked, sir. Well, Gloomhaven it's actually a game based on a board game. And what drew me to it immediately was how fantastically beautiful it is. But it is what they consider a tactical turn-based role-playing game with some, I hate saying roguelike elements, but that's what they say. So it says it mixes tactical RPGs and dungeon crawling with some roguelike elements, but you basically are going to lead a party of fearless mercenaries that you'll carve your way through some dungeons with. And those dungeons are filled with some pretty awesome looking monsters, if I say so myself. They all are very well detailed, and the graphics are fantastic. It really drew me in. I was like, wow, what is this game? And then I started reading more about it, and I realized it's the kind of game I like. So yeah, it's meant to be, it's still in early access right now, and it's meant to be released sometime this year, supposedly, but I imagine that's going to be more like next year now, because it says 2019, but yeah. There's not much time left in 2019, although they are at version 0.99.
Okay, and as a quick update, I checked right now, and yes, it is on Steam.
That's awesome. Yeah, so let me tell you quickly about this Gloomhaven one, the little bullet points here, because I think it sounds really awesome. And you can definitely check out this game in the notes below, but you can recruit a group of mercenaries, each with dozens of unique abilities. You'll face boundless challenges, dozens of powerful enemies with their own skills, dangerous elite encounters, and unique challenging boss fights. And you'll create powerful team synergies between your heroes to dominate your opponents in turn-based combat. That sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, no, I'm in. And I have to tell you that I am growing more and more in love with tactics as a genre. I might even try XCOM 2. Because I feel like now, I don't know, maybe it's just with age, I'm starting to realize that I really like that turn-based tactical stuff. It's fun.
Well, what makes turn-based tactical games amazing is that it's turn-based. So if you leave it on a turn and step away, you come back, it's still waiting for you there. there are a lot of games that don't do that, and like you can't exactly save it, and if you step away, you don't remember what you did. You don't have time to go and figure it out. And like you said, as you get older and your responsibilities change, namely you have little kids or younger kids running around and a spouse and a million things to do, you can't exactly just sit in front of your computer for 10, 12 hours like you could 5 years ago, 10 years ago, however long it was for whoever is listening. So that's why I like turn-based strategy games. That's why I like tactics games, especially games where I get to infuse the squads or whatnot with personality and like have my own narrative kind of going in the background. Makes it more interesting, at least for me. That's what I get out of it.
Yeah, totally. I'm with you.
So-
I think it's definitely something that I'm really starting to feel akin to. Like I feel like I'm getting more and more into them and enjoying them more. So, and I'll say that the Gloomhaven Steam rating right now is at 93%. So they're doing something right. I've reached out to the
Nice.
developers to see if we can get a copy and take a look and maybe do like a let's explore and preview and then eventually a review. But it definitely looks like a game that I would enjoy very much. So maybe you will
Okay.
too.
All right. Well, let's talk about today's topic, the Steam sale. You get
Yeah.
anything fun?
I did. I got Total Warhammer 2.
Do you have the first one?
I do. So I have Total War Warhammer 2 I got it for $20 US, which is a freaking steal if you ask me. And I honestly played Total War Warhammer 1 a bunch and was just not able to get myself into it. And I don't know why. I honestly couldn't tell you what it was about the game that I just couldn't fall in love with. But
You weren't ready for it.
maybe I wasn't. And now I'm playing Total War Warhammer 2 and I am just gobsmacked at how good it is. It's so freaking good. And when I realize now, looking back on my experience with Total War Warhammer 1, was that the UI wasn't as good as it could have been because with Warhammer 2, I feel like the UI is just so sleek and so easy to use that I'm like, oh, right. So this may have been a problem with what I had with Warhammer 1. And sure enough, I went back to Warhammer 1 and yeah, if they could just retrofit the UI and some of the other improvements they made from Warhammer 2, I would, yeah, it's a great game. I'm playing as the Lizardmen. I'm having a fantastic time. It's good.
You know that if you do the Mortal Empires campaign, you can have all of your factions from the first game, basically all the DLC you own incorporated into the second game with the second game mechanics.
Yeah, and the only thing that I'd want, and I wished for, or I would wish for, is that I could play the campaigns with the original Warhammer 1 factions.
Oh, I expect that when they release Warhammer 3 and they're done developing and everything is out, they're going to have like a version like Warhammer Complete that's going to have all three campaigns using the newest and latest and greatest rules, is what
and-
I'm guessing.
So I'll admit that I'm eating my words too, because there's been a few times where I've said that Total War 3 Kingdoms was the best Total War game, and Total War Warhammer 2 blows it out of the water. And it's not because...
Oh, is
it's not-
that right?
Well, I think what happened is I can see that Total War 3 Kingdoms clearly took a lot of cues from Total War Warhammer 2. But the thing is about Total War Warhammer 2 that I like the most is the fantasy setting, right? Like
Oh, yes.
the Lizardmen killing a bunch of Norskins, and you know, that stuff is awesome. And I really enjoy seeing like the hero units just like basically stampede through enemy units and conjure up crazy shit, and it's so much fun to watch. It's so fun.
All right.
So,
Well,
I
there you
feel
go.
like-
I remember I asked you about it, and you're like, no, Three Kingdoms is the best. I'm like, okay.
Well, and then so I also picked up what is it? Good Lord, I'm gonna have to Death War 3030, I think is what it's called. Let me look it up because it's a
What
game
is-
it's a game that Space Game Junkie named the best space game of the decade, and I'd already been looking at it because it looked like a game that I would enjoy because it looked like a 2D Star Citizen almost, and I enjoy those like space adventures with the ability to like improve your ships and stuff like that. So let me look up the name while you tell me about what you picked up.
Let me see. Did I pick up any? I picked up one of the DLC for Total War Warhammer 2. I think it was the Pirates, the Vampire Lord Pirates, that one.
Yeah, I just feel like buying all of them now. I'm like, I've only played 6 hours of it, but I'm just like, I can't tell you how many times I was just like, what the actual, why did I wait this long? But I'm glad I did because I got it for $20.
Well, that's exactly it. That's what I'm doing is I wait for to be at least 50% off. Unless it's something that I'm actively playing, I don't buy it. So I was So Civ 6 is having a very interesting sale, right? You can buy, I guess, the full version of Civ 6 with both expansions and all the DLC for like $48. I have family visiting right now, and my cousin bought it, and my son was playing with her, and they pretty much spent 6 hours today just playing. He's been playing it on the iPad, and he's been teaching her how to play on the computer, but she has a version that he doesn't have because Firaxis just released the content for the iPad for like a ridiculous price. So I'm going to wait till that stuff's on sale before I update it on the iPad. But yeah, it's kind of fun. I took some pics of them playing, and I'll, a couple of years down the line, I'm like, remember when you guys were playing Civ 6? Wasn't that fun? But living vicariously through him. But yeah, what else? I'm trying to think if I picked up anything else. I don't think so. I didn't see. I picked up some other games, but I didn't pick it up on Steam. I picked up some games for my PS4, and I picked up some games for my Switch. But that wasn't, that was through the Black Friday sales. So I don't think that counts, does it?
Yeah.
Exactly. So moving on.
No, I'll tell you, the name of the game is called 3030 Death War or Redo or Redux, however you want to pronounce it. And it is basically, like I said, an adventure game set in space where there's a story, and it's cool, and it really is, but there's a bunch of different like gameplay types within that same game. Like, you at one point are acting sort of like, like I said, like a 2D Star Citizen, but there's other portions where you're like actually like in your spacesuit, like flying around trying to like scavenge stuff, and there's a huge economy to it. And like I said, it's the game that Space Game Junkie named the best space game of the last decade, so it's worth checking out. I'm enjoying it. I picked it up for $7.
Okay, cool. I think that's it for this topic, right?
Yeah, let's talk about the Game of the Decade survey, which is something that I mentioned last week, and I wanted to talk about in a little bit more depth. And so I put out a survey on both Reddit and through our Discord about what people thought was the best game of the past decade. So 2010 to 2019, roughly December 12th or December 31st of this year. And I put up the biggest ones that I thought. So it was 16 titles, all of which I believed to be the best received, and at least with the biggest fan bases. Maybe games I didn't even play. So I personally wouldn't have put Stellaris up there because it's not mine, but I knew it was up there, right? I knew people were going to like it. And I also know that Endless Legend can be a bit divisive. But with that being said, with 16 games, it was something to the effect. Let me actually pull them up real quick. Give me one second. All right, great. So now I've got it pulled up now, and I'm going to tell you what I came to the conclusion that I would add, and maybe I screwed up somewhere. I'm sure people will say that I screwed up, and that's fine. So we've got Age of Wonders 3.
Okay, I agree with that.
Age of Wonders Planetfall.
I don't agree with that.
Civilization 5, Civilization 6.
I agree with 5. I don't agree with 6.
Distant Worlds Universe.
I agree with that.
Dominions 5.
Maybe. Not. I would say Dominions 4. If we were going to pick a game,
I put 5 there because 5 is just an iteration of 4, right? And when I actually put this out, a lot of people were like, "Yeah, it's probably better that you put 5 because it's literally just the same game, only better." So
okay, fine. All right, All
right, so next one's Endless Legend.
I absolutely agree with that.
Endless Space 2.
I don't agree with that.
Fallen Enchantress, Legendary Heroes.
Don't agree with that.
Then we have Galactic Civilizations 3 Complete.
Could be up there. I mean, they're still doing stuff for it, which I feel that are definitely needed. So potentially, okay.
Interstellar Space Genesis.
No.
Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion.
Tough one, but no.
Star Ruler 2.
No. It's good. It does interesting things, but it's not a game of the decade.
Stars and Shadow.
No, it's another good game, but not a game of the decade.
Stellaris.
No, absolutely not.
Thea 1, Thea 2.
So for me, definitely. For most people, no. So I'm borderline. I like, and the funny thing is, I like Thea 2 better than Thea 1. And actually, people are unhappy with some of the changes for Thea 2, which is kind of perplexes me. But, anyways, what else?
And then last, Warhammer 40K Gladius.
I like it, but it's not.
Well, so this is what I did, right? Like I said, I took the games, I looked at all of the games that came out in the past 9.5 years, almost 10 years, and I tried to narrow down the games.
I mean, what's the cutoff? Is the cutoff December 31st of this year?
Yeah.
So 2010 is the beginning of the decade, and 2019 is the end of the decade?
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, I took the list and I looked at all of the different games and I looked and I narrowed it down to the games that I thought will receive the best or have been perhaps liked the most by the fan base. So,
Okay.
well, I don't think what I'm going to tell you now is going to surprise you. So the top 3, because the other 12 beyond the top 3 are so close. It's just, it's like a photo finish really. And I'm gonna do a few other things to figure out what our top 5 are going to be. So that's the idea, is that we're going to find the top 5 4X games of the decade, and we're going to, post about it and then maybe make a video and stuff like that. But with that being said, the top 3 in no particular order are Endless Legend, Stellaris, and Distant Worlds Universe.
Oh, I don't. I would kick Stellaris out of that. Stellaris does not belong there whatsoever. So bye Stellaris, and then you have Civ 5. You have Age of Wonders 3.
I'm seriously surprised Civ 5 and Civ 6 are not as well received. Okay, so Civ 5 is definitely better received than Civ 6.
Right.
So it's going to be in our runoff, right? So what I want to do next is I'm going to send a survey out where people rank them instead of just saying if they like them or not. So what I did was I sent out surveys saying, A, the first choice would be did not play it. Second would played it and did not like it. Third was played it and thought it was okay. And then final was played it and loved it. Okay, so what I did is I took the did not play it out, right? Because that doesn't matter. But I wanted to make sure that I was getting buy-in, right? Follow through with everybody. So if you didn't play it, you didn't play it. So be it. So then what I used is the percentage of people that asked or answered the question, and then how many of those people said they played it and loved it, and then how many said they played it and did not like it. All right. So then with that played it and thought it was okay, it was a tiebreaker in some of the runoff ones, but I'm telling you, the top 3, those 3 that I mentioned, there wasn't even a question. There was the vast majority of people that played it liked it. Although Stellaris was the most divisive, so I will say that Stellaris was, of the 3, definitely the most. So it had by far and away the most played it and loved it, but it also had the second highest played it and did not like it. So you're right. I think most people would agree that Stellaris may not belong on this list or even in the top 5, but there are a great number of people that believe that it does, and it has the highest percentage. So Endless Legend was the highest period, like it actually was received the best. There were fewer played it and did not like it than any other game, which I was surprised by because I thought it was going to be much more divisive than that. And there were a great deal played it and loved it. And then Distant World Universes was a little bit in the middle. It was actually pretty fun. It was so if you did it just based on feedback from people that played it, Stellaris is had the highest loved it. But it does kind of even out a little bit. It brings it down when you start to value in the played it and did not like it. But it's still top 3. So what I want to do is I want to open up 2 things. I want to open up anyone's feedback regarding what else I may have missed that you think should be on this list, because I will add it if you think so. And then I'm going to also, like I said, once I've compiled all that and I get any feedback that may happen, I'm going to use the remaining games and have people rank them. So last check I had 507 survey respondents, which I think is a pretty good. It's a good little sample size. with that, I'm going to hopefully hope I hope that I get half of that when it comes time to do the second survey and people rank them, because it's going to take a few more minutes to rank them. I get it, but if we can rank them, that way I can start to see where people fall in line with the rest of it. I'd imagine Civ 5 is going to be in the top 5.
Yeah,
And then,
I wouldn't doubt it.
And I'll be eager to see what the last of the top 5 would be. So, Sons of a Solar Empire Rebellion, I expected to do better. It's done very well, but it hasn't. It wasn't in the top 3, and it would have made 6 based on what I have if I really wanted it to be nitty gritty and see. But it's so close. I mean, you were talking about like 4 or 5 votes.
So we need more people voting. That'll shake things out.
Agreed. And so that's why I'm thinking that we do it this way. This way I can understand at least where people rank them, and then use that ranking to nail down the last 2 of our top 5.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, stay tuned to the website. I'll have it all soon. I should have it by the second week of December, I imagine. And we'll probably, hopefully, get this taken care of before the holidays. So
Okay, sounds good. All right. And with that, let me ask you a question. Well, I think you kind of answered it, what you've been playing this week, but what else have you been playing this week?
Well, I also played a game called God King, which is a beta 4X game that was requesting testers on the subreddit, on the 4X Gaming subreddit. And I jumped in, said, yeah, why not? And it's doing some pretty cool things. It's kind of like a Master Magic / Dominions, if you believe it or not. And the graphics are better than I expected. The presentation's pretty decent, and it's super early. So I'm excited for it because the presentation and everything are already pretty good. If they could flesh it out, make the UI better, make it more polished, and help me understand what the hell I'm doing a little bit better.
Well, there's always that. I think that's an issue with most games.
Yeah, agreed. So it would be cool to see that game evolve and possibly become something that we could talk about and maybe even recommend one day. So the other thing I'm actually working on is...
Not working, but playing.
Well, working and playing is the beta tests for 10 Crowns, which I've mentioned before, but I've also posted on our site that Soren Johnson's looking for more beta testers, so I want people to join in. That's something that you can find on Explorminate, and you can find the beta test application on our site as well. So if you want to get in with Soren Johnson's new 4X, which, if you guys don't know, Soren Johnson is the guy responsible for Civilization 4, which is most people's favorite Civilization game, but I won't speak for everybody. And so it's his new historical 4X. I won't say anything more. And then finally, I've been playing the Lord of Rigel beta. I can't say anything more for that either, but it's alive. It's there.
We haven't heard anything from them in a long.
It exists.
So, okay.
It exists. It's currently making its way from Unity to another programming language, but it is coming along. That's all I can say.
All right. Fair enough. As far as me, I've been playing a bunch of XCOM 2. I'm so close to wrapping up my campaign. I did some BattleTech, playing with the new heavy metal content, which I like the changes that they're making. They're really starting to hone in on what makes BattleTech. I'm still like kind of iffy on a few of the decisions they made in the first place. So I'm hoping that with their official mod support, and maybe it'll even come to Steam Workshop, there will be mods out there that level the playing field, because one of the things that really frustrates me the most in BattleTech is when you have your one lance versus multiple lances with reinforcements, and it's like it gets crazy, and not in a good way. I understand the thinking behind it, and it makes sense, but it's just, we just have the 4 mechs, and that's it. And then sometimes you're facing 12 or even 16. And I get it. You're on a planet and you're on this and you're on that. But you know what? I shouldn't automatically lose because I can't complete this and that, because there's too many reinforcements. It feels unbalanced. And I've been playing some Humankind, but I can't really talk about that. So I just won't. And I think that's it. I can't I'm trying to think. Have I played it? No, I watched my son playing Civ. That was fun. And I did some playing on the PS4, but nobody cares. So I'm not going to talk about it. So there.
There you go. Well, this was a shorter episode than normal, but that's okay, because this week's a bit busy for both of us, and especially me. So it's going to be difficult for me to have the time to edit this. So if it's completely unedited, my apologies. No, it's not going to be. I'll make time.
You're not going to edit out all the cursing?
Maybe not. Maybe I will leave all the cursing that you've left in.
Oh, me. I see. So it's me.
Yeah. So that was all we had for this week, but maybe next week. It was Thanksgiving week, so it was a little.
Yeah, it was pretty quiet. It's pretty quiet.
Yeah, but I imagine as we ramp up to the end of the year, it may be a little bit more exciting for a couple weeks, and then quiet again for a few more weeks, and then we'll get back into it next year. So, you have anything else you want to say, buddy?
Just the usual. A big thank you to our community members. We have surpassed 7,000 followers on our curation page. We are slowly but surely approaching 3,000 members to our group on Steam. Now, if we were to count all the people from the beginning that have joined and left, we would probably be somewhere in excess of 6,000 or 7,000. But I'm not complaining. We're about to hit 3K members, so that's awesome. And we've passed 4,000 on YouTube, right?
Yeah, we're at 4,037 now, I think.
All right. Okay. And slowly but surely, just plugging away, getting where we need to be of consequence. Though there's still a few companies that have either blacklisted us or just completely like, explore my what? Nah, I don't know who that is. Not interested.
Speaking of which,
so there's a few of those.
Okay,
rant. Okay.
Just for a brief moment. And
remember, no profanity. No profanity.
No profanity. And I want to take the moment to thank somebody who is on the Phoenix Point subreddit who listens to this podcast, because he was very much aware of your disdain for their move to Epic, and which I'm totally cool with. Well, I want to say that I acted a little bit rashly and said that I was going to quit moderating the Phoenix Point because I was okay. I mean, I was being a little childish. Let's just put it this way. I was frustrated. I was frustrated because Sandbox Strategies, who are the PR firm for, what are they called again? Snapshot. And Snapshot have both completely ignored my request for a review key, which is fine. I've been ignored before.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
As of the time of this editing process, they actually have given us a key, and we will be doing a review of Phoenix Point as soon as we can.
Please stand by for further details. We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
I just haven't been ignored in a long time, so...
so I see it was rubbing you the wrong way.
It was rubbing me the wrong way, and I also will say that not only that, but it was just, I don't know, I just knew that we were being blacklisted, and it bothered me. I knew it wasn't...
So question, are we being blacklisted because of me?
I believe so, and that's fine. But
that's the thing. Look, I'm not going to apologize for that, because I backed the game on Kickstarter with a promise of a Steam key. That's my issue. I don't have a problem with them doing their thing. They can do their thing. When it hits Steam and it's 75% off, I will look at the game. Or maybe I won't. Who knows? But I've always stated from the beginning, that is my personal opinion as a consumer. That is not Explorminate stance. I wasn't going to review the game because nobody's forcing me to do it. I don't have to review something if I don't want to. If somebody else wanted to, I would do everything in my power to get them a key for it. But if we're being blacklisted, then that sort of lifts the weight off our shoulders, because if they don't want to deal with us, then there's no urgency for us to deal with them. No matter how good or bad the game is.
I personally won't review it. I'll play it, but I won't review it. And that's not because I'm being spiteful, although at first I was. I just don't feel like, that we're like, our voice won't really matter too much when there's 400 reviews out there already. And, it'll take us, if we're going to do it the right way, it's going to take us a few weeks to get it done. And then by then what? Does anybody care about our voice anymore?
Yes. Yes, they do. That's where you're wrong. They do. I'm constantly, I'll give you an example. So in our Discord, I've been having this back and forth talking to people. I've been talking about my current playthrough. I've had for XCOM 2, I have people reaching out to me privately and saying, "Oh, Nate, oh my God, I listened to when you talk about it. It's so awesome." And like people that I don't normally interact with, right? And they ask me questions and they ask me mod suggestions. What do you play with? Why is it so amazing? I've tried it. It didn't do it for me. So I start telling them, and then people are coming back like, wow, like you, even you was telling me like, there's so much excitement. You're starting to like XCOM 2, not like, but you're going to give it another chance. It can't be that so many people are enjoying it and you can't. Maybe you need to try it in a different way. And that's the thing. We might not bring them tens of thousands of new players. I don't know that we do that for any game, but we will bring players to the game. We will get the word out. Our curation page on Steam is growing. I mean, I saw my cousin's Steam account. She has a brand new account. When she was looking for curators, the moment she entered, so she bought Civ 6. The moment she bought Civ 6, I think we were the second recommended curation. We were the second one that popped up.
So that's awesome. And we're in the top 100. There's like 5,000 curators, and we're in the top 100. So that's cool.
Yep. And then we're gonna get better at it. We will continue tweaking it and improving it, not because we're trying to get more exposure, which we are, but because we're genuinely trying to help people make a smart decision when it comes to their gaming, specifically 4X and strategy games. So if Snapshot thinks like we are insignificant and our voice doesn't matter, hey, that's their opinion, of course, but we are not insignificant and our voice does matter because people do care what we have to say. Because out there's not a lot of competition right now for 4X and strategy games, and people want to know about them. We're a top hit. And we're not a top hit, in a small region of the U.S. We're a top hit globally. So, there is that. Sorry, I didn't mean to make your rant into my... But there you have it.
No, I'm glad you did. You have anything else?
Because then you can blame me. Be like, see, it's Nathan. It's not me. It's Nate. It's always him. You see, just hook me up with a key. Work with me here, people. It's him. See, it's that guy.
I'm just going to edit myself out of this, and it'll be just ranting.
Have fun, man. I think that'll be a lot of work, but okay.
Well, anyways, so I do want to take a moment. I want to take a moment too to thank everybody who's reading our stuff, who is continuing to support us on Patreon and talking to us in the Discord and on the Steam forums and everywhere that you guys interact with us. It's so cool. It keeps me
Twitter, even Facebook,
all that stuff. It's so awesome. It really is the reason that I continue to do this and spend my time when I could be playing games. Instead, I write about them because I see all that and I love it, and I just appreciate the community we've built. So, thanks to everybody. And unless you have anything else,
nope.
This was Rob and Nate for Explominate. We will talk to you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.